Good morning, everyone. My name is Desiree Curry. I am one of the program social workers with the Early Childhood Department. So excited to be here with you and just wanted to talk today about easing students and caregivers into preschool. We just want to provide you with some tips and strategies for reducing stress and uncertainties that definitely arise during the first week of school. And I just want to stamp and normalize right at the beginning of this, that this is not content that you're unfamiliar with. I'm sure many of you have been teaching for years and know what to do, but these are just helpful reminders meant just to be there to support you and maybe give you some ideas and strategies as we navigate the start of a brand new school year. So first things first, we really want to make sure that in that first week, we are being very intentional about creating positive relationships with students. So show your pleasure and enjoyment that they're there and getting to learn about them and knowing their names. We really want to make a big deal of their presence in the classroom and make them feel welcome really early on. I find that it's easier once children are really invested and excited and have those positive relationships with teachers and other students in the classroom to kind of keep that good thing going than if children have a really hard time or feel really uncomfortable up front and then having to work our way into that. Again, nothing is insurmountable, but it's really helpful really early on to get them very invested and excited in school and coming to school every day. So we also want to offer our students help in achieving their academic and social objectives. So noticing where a certain student might need a little nudge, a little bit more nurturing and support in terms of maybe interacting with other students or trying this new thing in the classroom. So offering help as appropriate and as needed, helping students to really reflect on their thinking and learning skills. Again, this looks like asking questions, really encouraging them to find the answer for themselves or follow their own line of thinking, and really helping them do that by helping them to reflect and, again, getting curious and asking questions. So we also want to know and demonstrate a knowledge about our individual students' backgrounds, their interests, their strengths, their academic levels. So these early weeks, especially that first week, is really dedicated to learning as much as you can. What do they like to do for fun? What's engaging or interesting to them? What kinds of books do they like to hear or read? Where is their family from? How many siblings do they have? Who do they live with? That's all really important information. We're kind of collecting all these things to empower us to move successfully with each individual student through the school year. And again, that continues, but this first week is really important as the start of that. We want to avoid really showing irritability or aggravation toward our students. Again, this time is about relationship building. And so we need to be mindful of our own feelings, right? There may be a lot that comes up in that first week of school. We may be feeling overwhelmed and flustered and thinking about what we're bringing into the classroom with us, and really keeping those feelings of irritability or aggravation under control and not demonstrating those or showing those to students, because we want them to feel welcome. We want them to feel safe. We want them to feel excited to be at school. And then acknowledging the importance of peers in school. So just fostering that early relationship building, helping them make connections. And we talk about this a lot. We've talked about it a lot in the previous school year, providing students with emotional and social skills that they need. So that looks like providing opportunities for them to improve their interpersonal skills, some of that conflict resolution, some stress management, right? Big feelings may come up as they're starting school. At the start of the school year, they've been home with mom and dad, maybe forever or all summer, right? And they're stressed. They're anxious, they're nervous. There's maybe a new teacher, new students, right? A change in the routine and the schedule for them, learning and helping them learn how to navigate those big feelings, and some decision-making skills, right? Just some sort of logical consequences. If I do this, then this is what happens next, and then this is what happens next, and kind of encouraging them to see those things. We want to use classroom activities and extracurricular activities to explore things like empathy, their personal strengths, things that they're good at or like, fairness, kindness, and social responsibility, right? So that thought that like This is our classroom. We take care of our classroom. We all keep each other, safe. We are kind to each other. Those sorts of things you want to really encourage and explore and discuss that in the classroom so that it starts to become something that they see and believe and recognize themselves. And then we want to allow and encourage students to identify, label, express, and assess their feelings, right? Little people become big people. We want them to be able, and little people are people, right? We want them to be able to begin to identify some of those feeling words, knowing what they're feeling, being able to express them in an age-appropriate way, and being supportive to them in that process, right? Maybe they don't have the language for it yet. It looks like you're feeling sad, right? Or it looks like you're feeling angry. Is that right? What's making you angry, right? Being curious about those feelings and then helping them think through again and asking questions that will help them think through what their options are in that moment. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling angry because this person took the toy from me. What can I do? What's the most appropriate kind of menu of options that I have in this moment, and kind of talking them through that. And the early weeks of school are really good for building the framework of that. Again, something that I know you all are familiar with, but we want to use transition. So transition times are really important because they make the day more smooth, more well organized, less rushed, and they're helpful to us as adults, but they're incredibly helpful to children. It's helpful for them to have enough time to make the transition gradually. So having those prompts, letting them know, right? They don't often tell time, they can't read yet. So having those things of, hey, we have this, and then we're going to do this, right? Or giving them those prompts, those cues moment by moment that in 5 more minutes, we're going to do this. In 4 more minutes, we're going to do this. In 2 more minutes, we're going to do this. Helps to calm them. It gives them time to finish that activity that they're doing. And they may move along in the process more favorably if they have those sorts of prompts. And we want to be warned in advance, right? Before we have to make an abrupt change in activities. And so it's really helpful for children as well. And we want to give them a realistic amount of time to make those transitions. So especially in those early weeks, giving yourself some buffer time for how long it may take to clean up or put things away is really important as they're learning the routine and the schedule of the classroom. These are just some transition tips and suggestions. So maybe you want to use some transition songs. Maybe there are particular songs you do to move from one task to the other, maybe a cleanup song, things like that. You want to use visual schedules again. So visuals, being able to see things visually through pictures is really important for kids of this age. Maybe you want to have things like a lineup buddy, and then they kind of own those jobs and hold each other accountable, like, hey, you're supposed to be with me, you're supposed to be with me, right? And they start to do some of the work for you. And maybe make a colorful preschool clock, something that will be attention grabbing and engaging for them. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit now about using caregivers into preschool, because we find that if caregivers are as informed as possible, they can support their child through the transitions and the daily routines and the expectations. And the positive effect of working with caregivers collaboratively, right, means that their child is going to have more academic success and improvement. They're going to have better just emotional development, all influenced by the nature of the caregiver and teacher relationship. That relationship, that collaboration is super important to the progress and development of the student. So these are some of the things that we want to do. We want to engage caregivers in meaningful ways in school activities. And we do that by identifying opportunities for them to be involved. And sometimes there will be parents that will have limited resources or scheduling difficulties. They may have a really difficult, challenging work schedule. I've worked with a lot of parents over the years who have worked at night, right? And so during the day they were sleeping, which made us have to be, creative and really work together and be intentional about times that we could carve out to meet to talk about their child's progress. But maybe there are ways that you can identify. Maybe they can't always be at every event or special occasion physically, but maybe there are other things that they can do to contribute, right? And we want to be able to talk through parents with that and get every parent we can have engaged, have them really actively engaged in the classroom dynamic. And then we want to communicate regularly about school and classroom activities. We want to make sure our parents are in the know about what's happening, about what's coming up, about what special occasions, if there's a day to dress up or a day to bring this certain item in, whatever. We want to make sure we're communicating regularly, often with parents about those things. And we want to seek opportunities for our caregivers and students to share their culture with others in the school and in the classroom, right? That'll be really important, just like I talked about in the beginning, getting to know about their background, about their culture, about their customs, about things that they like to do, what they do outside of school. It's all really useful and helpful information in so many ways. One, it just helps with relationship building. We want to be culturally competent. We want to be culturally aware and sensitive to other people's lifestyles, values, beliefs, what's important to them. We want to make them feel welcome in our school community. And then we also need that information in terms of what are the best ways to navigate this conversation with a parent. Maybe there's a certain approach I can take. Maybe there are certain questions I can ask, right? And there's information that I could get that I might not otherwise get. And then it's also just fun to learn about each other, right? We want to establish regular meetings with caregivers to discuss children's behavior, their grades, their accomplishments, opportunities for growth or improvement, their strengths, things are going really well. When we have those regular contacts and interactions and scheduled meeting times with parents, everyone's on the same page. There's a lot more clarity. There's not that thing of like, well, this has been going on for 3 months and I didn't know it was happening, or this was, you had this concern about my child and their behavior or their academic growth. We want to make sure that we're having those conversations often. And if you need support or anything like that, reaching out to your support team for that, but having those regular conversations so that if things ever need to escalate, that this has been an ongoing conversation. And again, if things are going well and positively and we're just collaborating, sharing strategies and supports, things that are working at home versus at school and vice versa, then we just have a nice, safe, consistent space where we do that, to have those conversations going frequently and on an ongoing basis. And then if needed, again, being culturally aware and competent and sensitive, right? If we need interpreters, if there are issues with communication, we don't want to have misunderstandings that are connected to language barriers. So there are opportunities and things that we can do to support families. We work with an interpreter company, and we can share the name of that out again, but that helps us sometimes in family meetings. And we can use those sorts of resources in order to make sure that communication is really clear between us and families if there is any concern about a language barrier. And we want to translate any materials that may need to be translated. So if that's something that you need support with, you can also reach out to your support team for that as well. This slide right here, maybe you want to share with your caregivers. I don't know if you want to take a screenshot of it, but these are just really tips for caregivers specifically. So maybe you want to encourage your parent to explain to their child the routine of preschool as you share it out with them, just so that they can set their child up for success. Encouraging their child to keep in mind that their caregiver, mom, dad, auntie, grandma, whoever will be there to pick them up at the end of every school day. Talk to them about the kind of games they'll play, the activities they'll do. Caregivers can also read books to their child about the kind of events that happen at school, to validate their children's feelings about school, and just to help quell any jitters. If possible, parents could perhaps visit school before the school year starts, if that's an option at your school location. You can encourage parents to do their best to get to know the teacher as early as possible. Again, just to benefit from meeting before school and having those conversations, maybe flagging any particular information or things that would be helpful to know about a student, their eating, sleeping, toileting patterns, things that they like and enjoy. You can encourage parents to share that with you as early as possible. And then this is something that I really love. You can encourage the parent to create a sort of goodbye ritual with their child at the beginning of the school day, so that there's that comfort and familiarity and there's a little bit of a routine. So this one I thought was really cute. Like a parent and a child could do a special handshake and avoid maybe a long farewell scene that will sort of reinforce a child's sense that preschool is a bad place. So feel free to rewind a little, take a screenshot of these, whatever. But I thought these were really helpful to share with parents as well. And then this is not an attendance workshop, but we just want to talk to you a little bit about attendance. So this slide is sourced from Ehrlich. It's from the University of Chicago, but this information I thought was really helpful and important to know. So we thought was really helpful and important for you all to know. So based on a 180-day school year, any student who misses 18 or more days per year is considered chronically absent. Now, the thing about that, right, we think of 18 days and you're like, wow, that is a lot of school days to miss. But that really just comes down to about 2 days every month that makes a child considered chronically absent. And that's both excused and unexcused absences, right? So preschool has higher absenteeism everywhere. A lot of times parents don't understand or need some education around the educational value of preschool. It's not just daycare, it's not just a drop-off service. There is academic instruction happening, there's growth, there's gains, and then there's the positive impact and learning that happens from building those social skills, interacting with peers, right? Problem solving. And a lot of times for parents or caregivers, play may seem less serious than academic subjects like reading and math, when in fact, we do know that those skills are still being developed in preschool as well. And because preschool is not mandatory, sometimes it's seen as less of a priority or a negotiable. But we thought this graphic was really helpful, right? So chronically absent is really easily masked if we are only looking for missing consecutive days. A lot of times we will have children flagged for us that have been absent for 3, 4, 5, 7 days in a row for us to follow up on as program social workers. But sometimes, right, children may miss consecutive days, but they may miss multiple days a month and they're spread out and it doesn't really stand out in your mind as a teacher. So it's really helpful to go and look back maybe at the end of each month to kind of, or at the end of every week, to capture where that child falls in terms of attendance. Have they been absent 2 or more days a month? That is a child that should be flagged for us if you do not know the reason why, or if you need support in kind of navigating that with a parent. Sometimes there may be a child who's absent, like you see in November here, this child was absent on a Thursday one week, on a Tuesday another week, on a Wednesday another week. And maybe we get curious about the parent about what that is, because they're not consecutive days. So maybe the kid's not like out sick, the student isn't out sick. Maybe there's something else going on. Maybe the parent has challenges with picking the child up from school on those given days due to their work schedule. Maybe there's a conversation that we could have about Casper or something like that, instead of leaving the child at home in the care of auntie or grandma or whoever. Maybe we can talk about Casper so that child can be at school every day and the parent has more time for pickup, right? Things like that. Maybe on Mondays, every Monday, that child has a really hard time making the transition from the weekend back into school. Maybe there are strategies that we can put in place to support the caregiver so that the child can more easily make that transition back to school on the weekend instead of keeping the child home from school every Monday. So it's important to notice and be aware of any patterns you may pick up, or just when you go and look back and reflect, like, oh, hey, this child is absent every Monday, right? You might not know it in the moment. We know that you are very busy and doing so much to support our students. But when we keep in mind that chronic absence is really only 2 days a month, there are a lot of kids sometimes that get overlooked or go under the radar in terms of attendance because we're paying more attention to consecutive days than just the number of days missed overall. And this graphic just shows some of the risk for students who are chronically absent over time. So we know that the projected academic outcomes are not positive for students who are chronically absent. They're high risk for low third grade reading skills, and third grade is really the grade that's really important for being at the appropriate grade level. And when a student is not, there are lots of projections statistically about what their lifelong outcomes look like: dropout rates, involvement with the criminal justice system, and things like that, that we don't want, right? We are laying the foundation for students, and we're helping parents and students get adjusted to school. And so it's important to, one, definitely not to scare them, but to really encourage them and educate them on the fact that attendance is really important, and it starts in preschool. This is also true for being on time, right? For tardiness. So we want to remind our parents, again, this may be a slide that you want to take a screenshot of and share with parents, but getting students to school on time, I know you all know this, matters just as much as attendance. And so if a student is missing out on some of the parts of the routine, getting acclimated and easing into the day, some of those really important relationship building, social and emotional learning times that happen right in the beginning of the day, that the child is missing out on really important learning activities at a time when they're most alert as well. So that early morning learning is crucial to critical life skills like routine, like commitment. And we really want to set them up for future school success, right? So we want to practice building that skill now in preschool so that they're able to do it in kindergarten and first grade and beyond. We also want to give students time to read their friends before class and reduce the possibility of disruptions in the classroom. Because when students do show up late to school, right, there's also that the classroom routine may need to stop and be adjusted to incorporate this child into the classroom routine that's already been underway. And sometimes that can make a student feel shy or embarrassed or upset. And it can have an impact on other students who were on task but are now distracted by the child coming into the classroom. And arriving on time every day just makes children feel good about themselves. And so we want to encourage parents to really think about the impact on their own child's well-being when they are not on time consistently for school, and the impact that it has on their sense of routine and well-being and easing positively into their day. So again, this is just kind of a restating of some of the things that we've already talked about, but we really want to prioritize engaging families. We want to welcome, involve, and support our families in any way possible. We want to help our families keep our students healthy. We want to use large gatherings to introduce the importance of preschool attendance and the need to monitor absences. We want to use one-on-one conversations to reinforce the importance of attendance and identify challenges. And we want to have those conversations consistently, not on an ongoing basis throughout the school year. And tap into your support team if you need support or have hit kind of a wall with a family. You want to continue messaging and recognition events all year long. And then we want to prepare our students and families for kindergarten transition, right? And lastly, this is a tip for you all as teachers. We want to have realistic expectations, not just for our students, but we want to have them for ourselves. As educators, as teachers, we may want to fix every problem in the world for our students and our families. We want to take away their hardships. We want to change the world. And educators really are superheroes, in my opinion. It takes a really special person to be an educator. And sometimes when it's not possible to change a student's entire world, right, or to do it in one day, we feel this sense of failure. We feel sometimes helpless, like there are certain things that are out of our control. But we just want to encourage you this school year to remember that you are only human. We want to encourage you to be kind to yourself by setting reasonable expectations. So think in terms of the things that you would like to do and what you can reasonably do. For example, you can provide a loving and supportive classroom environment to your students. You can advocate for your students. You can take good care of yourself so that you can show up as your best self every day. And maybe you want to take each day at the end of the day to have your own transition time as you transition from work and all that comes with supporting these students and families all day long, as you transition into your own home life, family life, whatever you have outside of school, by taking maybe some deep breaths or having a mantra that you say, like, I've done what I could do today, or I've done good work today. I've done important work today. And then say to yourself, I will let the worry and stress go until tomorrow. I can pick this up tomorrow. And then these are just some questions to keep in mind as you reflect and prepare for the school year. What are some things that maybe work best for helping students make a smooth separation from parents in the first week of school? What are some challenging issues for students at the beginning of the year? What are some challenging issues for parents at the beginning of the year? How much time do you give students before reaching out to support staff for assistance? And what are some of the challenges in trying to set up your classroom in the beginning of the year? So maybe think through some of these questions. If you have the answers to these questions, maybe think through some strategies with your teaching partner or the other teachers on your grade level or in your school to talk about how to kind of plan and problem solve for these things. If you don't have the answers, again, collaborate with other teachers in your building. Reach out to your support team for strategies and help and insight. There is a wealth of knowledge available to you. These are just questions to keep in mind as you navigate the beginning of the year. Wishing everyone a successful school year. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you. Again, my name is Desiree Curry. I'm one of the program social workers, and we are here to support you as well as your lead teacher and your support team. So thank you so much again for your time. Wishing you the best school year. Take care. Bye-bye.